Hey, I'm Tammy Guest. I'm a naturopath, a nutritionist, an author, a speaker, and an adventurer. I came up with my Big Hairy Audacious Goal after years and years of toing and froing between scientist, then I became a naturopath, then I became a business owner, and then I sold my practice and really connected back in with my biggest dream, and that's to travel all the way around the world in a helicopter. So the trip essentially goes like this. A helicopter can only go around about 800 kilometers and then it needs to land, which is very different to a plane, which can go pretty much halfway around the globe and land. So a helicopter has to make 29 different stops to get all the way around the globe. 17 of those we're connecting with organizations specifically that need attention, that probably haven't got the airtime that they could have to help women, to help health, to help the planet and its people. And so we are essentially going to go one stop, whether or not it's for helping and bringing attention to the organizations, having a bit of the filming happening, and we're going to actually, my son's coming along, so we're going to be helping all of these different countries, all of these different organizations in all these countries, and it's going to be such an amazing experience. So it'll either be a stop for fuel, or a stopover, or it'll be to help these organisations. Like I said, 17 of the 29 stops are specifically to help these organisations that haven't got the attention that they need. Generally, going all the way around the globe can happen in a matter of days. So in a helicopter, there's a world record for something like 20-something days. I'm planning on doing this whole trip in about 9 months. And each different stop depends on what they need. Sometimes it takes a little while to build a school, or it takes a little while to build a couple of houses, or even drill a well. Other places we might just stop to refuel and then keep going. So how I've broken down the steps to getting this Big Hairy Audacious Goal was, number one, have the idea. Notice the intuition inside my belly and follow it. Number two, was go and get my license. That's coming to fruition in December 2018. Then I've got to get my organisations on board that I'm going to be helping, and we've got 2 on board out of the 17 already. Then I've got to get sponsorship, because it's going to take a little bit of petrol to get all the way around the globe. And then I have to get all of the details specifically around the aviation side of things, clearances and stuff like that for each different country in the 29 stops I've got to do. And then we record a documentary and give it to everybody in the world to watch. My Big Hairy Audacious Goal came from being really identifying with my business, and I didn't realize that in the mix of running my practice, which was really busy at the time, helping thousands of women, and then deciding that it was time to actually sell my practice and really focus on the things that mattered to me, I'd forgotten what mattered to me. Through the time of figuring out what mattered to me, I remembered my love of aviation through going to a museum of all places. And I went to a Trailblazers exhibition. And at that Trailblazers exhibition, there was this amazing exhibition area that had to do with Dick Smith, a man going around the world so many times. And then I saw just one round the world for a woman in a helicopter. One! And I thought, well, I used to fly as a kid. I could fly again, and why not a helicopter? And why not me? So instead of asking why, I just asked why not? And it's come from there. The reason the whole thing began with fervour a second time around, like I said, I started back in 2014, but I had to give it away because I had to focus on my business. I had to be really serious about my business. I had to keep it going. I had a lot of people depending on me, a lot of staff and my family. And when I decided to sell the practice, I had a moment where I didn't quite understand the dark feeling I had inside me. And when I questioned it, it was around, if I'm not a naturopath anymore, if I'm not a business owner anymore, then who am I? You know, it was my trajectory that I was always going to be a healer, and I was always going to own this business, and I was going to be a little old lady peddling my herbs to the local people around the place. And when I finally, it was the last week before I was selling my practice, and I was doing lots and lots of things that were out of my comfort zone, lots of legals, lots of accounting, lots of things like that I wasn't quite used to. My husband was away, my 3 kids were depending on me at home, and this darkness kind of took over inside me. And I was driving to work, and I had my 3 kids in the car, dropping them off, and a policeman pulled me over. And in the midst of all of this stuff, I had forgotten to pay my registration on my car. And she said to me, "So you've knowingly driven your children to school in an unregistered vehicle?" And at that time, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but at that time it broke my heart. I thought I was the biggest failure in my business, as a naturopath, as a mother, as everything. And getting my kids to school and then going and sitting by the beach because I was uncontrollably crying. I couldn't hold it together and I couldn't stop the crying. And I actually had a moment standing on the cliff, trying to get air in and feeling the wind come in and trying to just calm down, and it just wouldn't stop. And I had a moment thinking, what if this doesn't stop? What if I'm actually broken? And I took a step back because I thought, if I was one of my clients, I would tell them to ring somebody right now. So I rang and I texted 3 people and they didn't answer. And I sat back again. I thought, I've been in these positions before. If people don't answer, it's because I have to pull through myself. And I looked around for some guidance, and a guy in a wheelchair rolled up the cliff in front of me. And I went, oh my goodness, I've still got my legs, I've still got my feet, I've still got lots of choices, and I can go wherever I choose. And I thought, oh, okay, I've stopped crying a little bit. I wonder what it would take to stop crying some more. And then a blind guy with a seeing eye dog walked up behind him. And the seeing eye dog had a coat on that said, "I need space, please." I was like, oh my goodness, I just need space to think about this. I just need space. Instead of rolling all this into one and this final week of my business, I need space. And I gave myself that space, and that's how I ended up a month later at the museum, really sensing my body, being in the awe of seeing aviation, like with fresh eyes. And then I realized, oh my goodness, of all the things I can do, because I've let go of this old part of me, I can absolutely do 29 different stops around the world. So the 3 biggest things I've learned. Number 1 is stop asking why. Like, everyone asks you why you want to do something, or why this, but why not? Why not you? Why not me? I thought, well, if I can do one jump from one side of Australia to the other, why not 29 different jumps? And then, what's the next step? So that's probably number 2. Not the whole big dream of it all, not the whole, oh my goodness, I really had this big, hairy, audacious goal. Just what's the next step? Sometimes it's as easy as a phone call, and sometimes that phone call can be the hardest thing that you ever do. Getting enough guts up to press those numbers can just be mind-blowing. But once you've done it, it's done. So what's the next step? And the 3rd one is, it's not going to be like this forever. I didn't realize that in the midst of my crying episode. I didn't realize that in the midst of being on the cliff. But every single time, it hasn't lasted. It's not going to be like that forever. And there is something amazing on the other side of a breakdown and is always a breakthrough.